All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode of The Mix Behind the Mic. Today, we have a very special guest, longtime friend in the business, Mr. Austin Sotoloff of Smooth Event Group. Austin, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to get you on. As you know, we're always talking about tricks of the trade, do's and don'ts with people, and, who better to come on than someone that's out there doing it with us every weekend. So excited to have you here. So we're just going to jump right in. We always try to have people tell us a little bit about yourself and essentially how did you get into the wedding business?
The good part about today is we actually used to work together.
Yeah, man. I love it.
Nothing better than a full circle. But
I essentially call you my firstborn kid. So, might as well just throw that out there and tell people. But yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I started doing weddings with you. I DJed in college and then
Kutztown to shortstop with us, and here today again. It's just awesome. I always tell people anytime everyone says anything about us knowing each other that there's been so many people in this cutthroat business that that we're in that have essentially done things not the right way as far as like doing their own thing or departing from us. And I always give you all the props in the world that you came to me the right way as a man and said I love you to death, but I'm going to do my own thing, and boom, here we are. 10 years later, 10 years almost that? It's wild.
Yeah, it was 9 years in August for me.
Really? That's awesome. Yeah. And as far as, getting into the wedding stuff was, let's even go back to Kutztown, and I don't even know if I know this and we've been friends this long, but like in Kutztown, I'm assuming this was something like, were you doing it on the side that like, obviously you're 19, 21 years old, like this is awesome. But like when you came out, even essentially when you started with us, like, was it something that you kind of always knew? Or for me, like never in a million years did I have any plans that I was doing this, and it kind of just fell in my lap and I snowballed it. And I feel like you could almost essentially say the same thing. Yeah?
That's exactly how it happened. I think for me, the moment I knew is when people started asking me to DJ their wedding. And I was like, all right, this could be something,
right?
More than just a side gig,
essentially.
Could actually make a business out of it.
Right, so. Right. As far as, what we can get some things for brides to take from this pot, if you will, I always love being able to dive into specific, things or things not to do, I should say, at weddings. And essentially for our board that we have today of things that we're just going to dive into, is there anything that we can start with that you are essentially loving in weddings that might be new, that wasn't happening 5 years ago? And before you even answer, I love telling people, especially that are like in their late 20s getting married, that haven't been to a ton of weddings 10 years ago, that it is literally a different world than it was essentially when you started doing weddings than what they're doing today.
Yeah, I like the trends of not doing the bouquet or the garter toss.
Amen.
I think that a lot of the clients that we work with are getting away from that and spending more time on dancing. And in a lot of the weddings that we do, I'm seeing the hybrids are becoming a big part of the wedding. So drummer, your saxophone, even the electric violinist, I think is cool. So
I'm like almost to the point where I hate when we're doing weddings without them, that we're doing them as much as we are these days. So.
And we get to work with talented guys too.
Right.
Like a lot of the musicians that we work with on both sides are, they're not just like some guy in the garage. They're very talented. And, they've been musicians for a long time. So now they bring that spin to weddings. And I feel like the coolest part about it is they can adjust very quickly to a lot of the things that we're playing, even if they've never heard us play before. So
I like that you said this, because I quote someone all the time that left us a review that had a sax. And literally every time I bring it up in a consult, I always quote this review, and they say, loved having a circle around the saxman on the dance floor. Didn't think he'd be playing alongside To Earth, Wind and Fire and Lil Wayne. And that just explains it all right there. Exactly. As far as like whatever the demographic is, they can kind of go along with it.
Well, what's your take on when a client asks if they play the whole time? Because I have my take on it, and also have, how we do it at our company. But
I'm never telling them that they're just blowing into a sax for 4 hours straight. So, let's be clear there if I had to say that. But generally, for the most part, and again, I like this conversation because I don't even know where it goes with it, but like, do you do them for 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours? Is it all different, or is it essentially the entire wedding?
The reception is basically the most popular.
Sure.
And then if they want to add on the cocktail hour, they can for a small amount.
Are your guys essentially doing any type of, are they playing during formalities?
So a lot of the time we give the client the option.
Sure.
But what we like to do is have them playing as guests are walking in to kind of set the tone for the night.
Okay. I like that.
We'll play 6 or 7 songs before intros.
Perfect.
As people come over from cocktail hour. And then usually not for formalities, maybe for their grand entrance for the bride and groom.
Right, for the intro.
Yeah. Right. But then they'll play a couple songs during dinner, and then we wait till the dancing
This is already a perfect thing, and I'm, glad we're having this conversation, because predominantly I always say that we're booking them essentially for 4 hours, but realistically, I never really have them start, I think, until we're done formalities.
Sure.
But like you just made a great point of setting the tone of opening the doors of them first couple songs of just walking into the room. I don't ever really push, and I think that's a great vibe starter.
Yeah.
That's essentially what we push and why
people
we
start.
Right.
I always notice they start taking videos, they get excited that there's a live musician.
Right.
So there's a lot of value, and I've kind of taken a backseat a little bit of like being the star of the show, because like if they love the live instruments, let them do their thing. I'm happy to not be the center of attention necessarily for
I like that. I like that concept. And again, it's also, we're booking them that much more now, but that also means that, side note, a question I ask in every consult is, how many weddings have you been to? Again, if they're late 20s, they could say 5, they could say 20.
Say 20, right?
Right. Yeah. So like there's both avenues, but what I also feel like sometimes and maybe we both might forget is that we do this every weekend. There's a good chance that most of these people that are walking in that door that are pulling out their phone have never seen a sax at a wedding before. Yep. So it's like such a open door wow factor, as you kind of said. So I really, like that aspect of it.
Yeah. And I think even when you add more instruments like a drummer, a saxophone, I've been to weddings where there's been all 3, electric violinist, you kind of lean on them a little bit with their experience to hopefully, if the song doesn't make sense, you would hope that they wouldn't play, or, you talk about a lot of this stuff beforehand where, a client doesn't really think about that, but a lot of the planning beforehand and ahead of time, you would talk through certain situations or, have the musicians work together, I think is important. I've had some clients that I've even jumped on the phone with to talk to another musician from another company since I haven't worked with them.
Right.
Just to make sure
just
that they're
touch
a good
base.
fit.
Yeah. Right. Makes no sense. We've done sax and violins, but I haven't really dabbled into the drummer aspect. I know it's
something new, honestly, for me. I think I've done 2, and we have like 6 or 7 booked now.
Okay. So. And again, like, I'm glad it's a growing fad. I don't see it going anywhere. And like, here's the thing about doing this podcast. Eventually we're going to not intentionally ever offend someone or something within the business, but I mean, it just is what it is. And what I'm leading up to is bands are expensive.
Yep.
And
took the words right out of my mouth.
Like it's just that simple. Bands are expensive. And let me rephrase that. Good bands are expensive, that you can get a lot more, specifically getting a DJ with these add-ons, and it's the best of both worlds.
Well, a lot of people, parents also want bands too. They say, well, they're paying for it. So, and again, bands are a great option for a wedding, but sometimes,
well, listen, if mom's paying for it and they want a band, I mean, by all means, like, I get it, but I definitely think, I don't think it's going anywhere. And there's so many things that, are here or big, for a couple of years and fades out. But like, I just kind of see this as being something that stays. And one thing I love about specifically the sax and the violin over the drums, if you will, is that, like, again, never trying to offend anybody, but like, when we were growing up, I think the sax or violin guys were pure nerds. And now, like you said, they're the star of the show. They're the spotlights. And like, now it's like such a big thing, and it's like awesome. Like, and I think about it, like, I have a 5-year-old kid, and like, I told myself this year, I'm like, Harry, you are going to learn an instrument this year. And like, my first thought is always, we'll say guitar, piano, or drums. And like, again, I probably would never think sax or violin are in my top 5 of thinking things. And now with what we're doing every weekend and seeing the vibes and energy of these people, it's literally like, pick your poison of what you want to learn, kid. But like, it's something I don't think I would ever push or suggest before, that now I have a whole new respect for the music or musicians.
I would say drums would probably be the easiest segue in because of just
but you're not thinking like a dad over here, Baby Smooth. I'm thinking, I don't want to make drums. Exactly. Yeah, I don't know if I want the drums in my basement yet, but something you missed that happened at a wedding that isn't happening now. I just pulled this one out of nowhere, only because, again, we had a clip that went, we'll say, semi-viral a couple weeks ago, and it was simply talking about having the officiant in the center of the aisle, where they're facing the couple and the couple is facing the whole crowd. Anyway, the whole point of it was, it's something I never seen before. We talked about it on the pod that I thought was cool, and we posted it. And, the only reason I think it blew up as it did, besides the fact that Keith kept cutting me off while I was talking and so many people hated him for it, and we literally got 1,000 comments on them telling them to let me talk, but so many people commented, this isn't new. I did this in 1989. This isn't new. I did this in 1994. And what I'm realizing is, besides the fact that there's a ton of 50, 60-year-olds on TikTok that I didn't realize, but there's so many things that are full circle that come back, and it's with fashion, it's with different things in life. So
music.
Well, exactly. So it's just kind of wild. But go ahead.
I was going to say, what's the most popular song for intros is "Gimme Gimme" by ABBA.
Right, which is 40 years old. Yeah, it's kind of like wild. So
that was a TikTok.
Right, that's coming back.
Trend, and it came back, and now a lot of the music that was played in the 70s and 80s is full circle.
I'm going to go off script for a second, but you just hit a nail on the head that made me think of love or hate TikTok in general for weddings, because I'll give you an example for my hate of, we just did a wedding a couple weeks ago, and the bride was just like, I want all TikTok songs, like as many as possible. And I'm like, well, can we be a little bit more specific?
Right.
And she's like, everything that's popular today right now on TikTok, I want played at the wedding. And I'm like, okay. And again, giving that example of the ABBA song is, I've always liked the song. So like but like, I also think that there's things that, I'm going to say expectations for reality multiple times again, but like, you think it's cool because it's popular on the internet, blah, 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 but is it always going to be fitting the vibe or whatever you're trying to do for the night of the music?
Sure.
So is it something that, I mean, do you see that? Are people saying that to you as far as like TikTok stuff?
A lot of the clients that we get, fortunately, are word of mouth. So a lot of them end a sentence like that with, but I trust you to do your thing, so.
You always hope they
luckily, I haven't had to deal with that a ton. We'd always adjust, of course, but at the end of the day, I always try to give guidance of, I'll fit in as many as I can, or, it's your wedding. We can do whatever you want. Sometimes it doesn't work, or it might not fit for a certain moment, but we'll save it for the end of the night.
Yeah.
There's always a way to get everything played. It's just a matter of kind of feeling it out and, knowing when to.
You hit a nail on the head on something else too, where, and this is not obviously always the case, but I think the same thing for our company. I'm going to assume the same for you. Most people that book you for a wedding know your brand, know your vibe. And just to give an example, if this is a second person wedding and they're in their mid 50s, not saying you can't do it or you wouldn't book it and it's their wedding, you'll do what you want, but predominantly that's not the client. Either one of us are essentially booking, because people that are booking are coming from experience or friends or referrals of a specific type of vibe, energy, if you will. So I think for the most part, I agree with what you said of, they already kind of know what they're getting with the vibe and the music and the brand that we offer stuff. But again, occasionally there's always one of them that we book that is completely in left field. And like, we said it earlier today talking that like sometimes we have a consult and like you think like they're not booking and maybe we just don't mesh or not the style, and then they book and you're like awesome, like we're happy, but it's just like kind of shocking at the same time, if that makes sense.
Something that I always wanted to talk about was when people reach out to our company specifically, I'm sure you got the same thing. A lot of people, they want me specifically, and I have to handle that. Either I'm available or I'm not, and what's the next option. So I've come a long way with learning how to explain why we still have the same reputation, and we don't just send anybody out.
Sure.
And I'm sure you're the same way.
Absolutely.
But we have 5, 6, 7 guys that I trust that would do my family parties, and they've also spent a lot of time in the industry and learned how to adjust and adapt, and they have experience. So I think there's really no drop off, and it's important because there are other companies in the industry that you kind of just find out your DJ the day of. So being transparent is important. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on how you handle that.
Well, there's a couple. I mean, first off, it's a great topic just to talk about, but for starters, for both of us, I think I can speak freely saying this. We're not putting someone out there that we don't trust in general ourselves for, if it was our own family or for a total stranger that books us. But more importantly, for us two specifically, we are the faces of our companies.
Sure.
So people that know specifically us want us. And of course, that always makes sense. But for me, at least, I can say confidently that I would never be able to take the step back that I am. I would never be able to slow my numbers down of how many weddings and events I'm doing if I didn't have really good staff that are continuously getting good reviews, good ratings, etc.
Sure. And people that you trust.
Trust, exactly. I mean, listen, again, I know I'm saying this live on a podcast, but like everyone in 2025, doesn't matter what business you're in, there's, I think, more overturn than there ever been in life, if you will, in business. But I think something about, knowing who your core team is and, trusting them with your brand and your reputation every single weekend. And I'm less than 4 months away from year 20, which is mind blowing. But it's one of them things where I think I finally swallowed the pill of you just got to trust the people that you trust. And it's that simple.
Right.
So, if you're booked for a wedding and, someone comes to you and says, hey, I'm inquiring, and obviously they're interested in DJ Smooth and DJ Smooth's booked, but DJ A and B, if you will, or your top two guys are available, and these are the same guys that are also going in week in, week out and getting good reviews and getting good praises. I also think something about if we can ever make a connection with a couple as far as like friends, or I don't know if you do this or not, but like I stalk everybody on Facebook and Instagram before I have consults.
Sure.
Solely if I know that we did 2 or 3 of their friends' weddings. And that's something where,
it's a conversation starter.
100%. Yeah. And, it's not like we're waving big signs essentially at weddings that say Smooth Event Group or in the mix, if you will. So like, can someone be at a wedding and love the DJ and have a killer time and not realize that was one of your guys? It's very possible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, 6 months later, when they, hit you up and you're not available, and again, you happen to do some homework and seeing that they actually did one of their friends' weddings, and they're like, oh my God, I was actually at that wedding and had no idea like that was one of the guys from your crew. Just connecting them dots is everything. And, peace of mind for the couple is everything. So, I always kind of relate back to our reviews are massive and kind of just feeling out the person.
Sure.
And, as far as for me personally, I don't know if you guys do this, but like I predominantly do all the consults, but like if they're specific and they need or want more, they can always hop on a FaceTime with them too. So like just to feel them out. But
we also want it to be a good fit too. Like
sure.
We as business owners want to work with people that, are also looking to have a great time and We want them to have
same
fun,
vision,
right? Like
on both ends.
At the end of the day, and I always say this to our clients too, but the bride and groom, we want you to be on the dance floor because at the end of the day, everyone at the wedding is going to follow you. So if you're out there, everyone's going to dance and have fun.
I'm piggybacking off of this. Here it is. Here's the clip. Okay. It's simply not talked about enough. And it's the most common, simple thing ever. If you're on the dance floor, they're on the dance floor. That's it.
Right.
That's the whole thing. And I can't stress this enough. We've had conversations again in other pods about cigar bars and things that are taking people away from the dance floor. But if you listen, our objective is to have people dance for 2+ hours at your wedding, no matter what wedding it is, period. But, and I try to bring this up in final calls, the more you're on the dance floor, the more likely it's going to be that much more epic because they want to be around you.
Right.
And that's it. So I definitely think, going back to our original conversation as far as like having other people on the team do things, I really think, and you elaborate on this more as far as the, couples vibes, if you will, again, in the consult, I always tell them we have a ballpark flow for our weddings predominantly of how we bring in the music, and most people want music of all ages, and how we kind of make it all work. And then we take what you have to offer of your must plays stuff and we try to make it work with as we best see fit. But it's one of them things where my main question when I kind of try to pick them with the DJ is, to make a long story short, if you have a 2-hour dance floor, the first 30-ish or less is getting some of the classics out of the way of the Motown and building up. I always say the early 2000s is a super popular set because whether you're 20 or 60, you can get into it. I say in every consult, shout out to my mom, that mom loves Nelly, Backstreet Boys, and some Biggie songs, and that works at every wedding. But then I say, what is the last hour? Because the last hour should be about you. Respectfully, F everybody else. You put blood, sweat, and tears into this.
Sure.
What is that last hour? There's no wrong answer here.
You can go so many different directions too.
And I literally say, is it hip hop, EDM, emo, pop, punk, country? What is your bag? Respectfully, I never want it to be country in the last hour, let's just say. But the other ones, you know what it is. And
perfect segue into your final songs of the night. I can play Mr. Brightside. I can play Piano Man. I play Queen. Don't Stop Me Now. A lot of our clients pick the last song, but the songs leading up to that, I think that is like my most stressful half hour of the night.
Is the last 30?
Yeah, because especially if they don't really give you a lot of input, a lot of my clients will just say, I trust you, do your thing.
It's like I love it and hate it all at the same time.
I love it. I appreciate that people trust me, but at the same time,
give me a little something.
A little bit more. Yeah. And again, I think there's a lot of songs that you know what works. Your guys know what works.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you want to make sure that you're pleasing your clients and, make sure that they're happy with the final
I got a good
30
one.
minutes.
Again, every time we talk about specific clients, I try not to call them out where it's so obvious, but I got a perfect one. I'm doing a wedding this Friday and we had a final call and the couple told us flat out they want to pick every song for the wedding, everyone. And we had the final call and they didn't send the list yet. So we're having a call and they filled out the paperwork that says formalities and ceremony songs, and that stuff's filled out, but they're going to send us the list of the music for the night that they didn't. So it was nerve-wracking to say the least to have the final call, know that they are very particular and want their entire playlist played.
Sure.
But we didn't see the music yet. So we get off the call, I want to say it was like a Thursday. The next day, Friday, she sends me the list and I respectfully take a sigh and okay, let's look at it. And realistically for dinner and cocktail, I don't care what their list is. There's no flow, there's no vibe. Yeah. We'll play whatever you want. So there's that. I just care about the 2-hour open dance floor set. And for starters, I always tell people, it's 2025. You want to give us a Spotify, Apple Music playlist and you guys bang out for the next year, swipe away and give us this cool. Sometimes people give us 18 hours worth of music. And obviously it's a 2-hour dance set and you give us now. this particular couple gave us 4 hours of music for a 2-hour dance floor set. Now, I don't hate it in the aspect of, I know we're paying their particular list and we have options.
Sure.
Now, looking at it, now the wedding didn't happen yet. It's Friday. Looking at it, I'm so less nervous. 70 of it is things we would already play. It is literally things from, Ja Rule to No Hands to some like classic, I can't think of it like an 80s song off the top of my head, but like
Dance with Somebody. Yeah.
Sure. But it's funny. She asked me if we could hop on a quick call the next day just to kind of like confirm the list. And I'm like going over it with her. And I was like, I got to ask you this. And she's like, what? And now I'm really going to call her out if she ever listens to this pop. And I'm like, you're from South Philly, aren't you? And she's like, yeah, how'd you know? And I'm like, this playlist just screams it. And there's just like a couple songs in there that,
Bonnie Pointer.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, that was one of them that I was like trying to think of earlier in the night. On the console, I'm never telling her this, but I'm like petrified because I don't know what it looks like. Yeah. And then I get the list and, it's a good mix, a lot of things. Respectfully, I will tell you that we never want to play straight down a list, if you will, and we love the freedom. But in hindsight, in this particular case, they gave us a ton of stuff. A lot of it is stuff we would already played. Sure. So like to each their own, if you will. I know we did another segment with Keith, and I want to say Keith said like 20 songs is like the perfect. Well, I hope everyone gives us 20 songs for the whole night. And that's
I'll
all.
Take 30 or 40.
You want 30 or 40? Okay. I was just going to say, like, what's your bread and butter number? But now, are you talking? Well, when you say 30, 40,
I'll take 20 must plays, and then.
But I mean, are we specifically talking open dance floor? Because I'm not talking like, give me what you want for a cocktail.
No,
you're saying 40?
Just reception. I usually recommend 20 must plays, 10 do not plays, and then 10 play if possible.
I don't ever ask about do not plays.
Yeah,
here's the thing.
That's my biggest thing is
really?
I want to know artists that you don't like because
artists.
I don't want to get. When I first started doing weddings, there were a couple weddings where I would look up, and the bride and groom would give
me the
next song, or they really didn't like the artist, so I learned to just find out.
Here's a perfect example. This is where again we'll compare both of our companies. They don't ever have to put the chicken dance or the electric slap. But I'm just saying.
But yeah, you don't have to.
And like sometimes people still do it. And I'm like, I don't even know how you're even coming and booking us if you think we're playing that at your wedding kind of thing.
Right.
But like specifically asking for the knots, if they don't give them, I don't think we really, maybe some of my guys do, but I personally don't if I'm on a call.
I encourage it.
But again, Taylor Swift is a perfect example. There's no middle grounds. People love her or hate her for
the
whatever
bride might hate Taylor
That's
Swift.
What I'm saying. So if she's not mentioning it, now again, if she didn't say it's not on the do not playlist and we play a song, like obviously she's probably not going to, give us the cut it thing. But I just like the concept of like, hey, like, just so you know, I'm not a big fan of this or that.
Right.
I've been seeing Bruno Mars
come
up a lot lately.
That's why I've been asking more.
It's very, and here's the thing,
Bruno.
I don't hate him. I don't have no problem with Bruno. No. And realistically, for a long time, like I thought Bruno was the next Michael Jackson. So like, style, vibe, music, pop, if you will. But tell me I'm wrong when I say this. Uptown Funk is Billie Jean in 20 years, hypothetically. Like Uptown Funk will still be played at weddings. And
I haven't played it in about 20 or 30 weddings.
Okay, I think I said years for a second.
No. It's been a lot.
But it's
do not playlist.
For us on the consults, I always say we're not playing Sweet Caroline or We Are Family. Mm-hmm. And I joke and say when Harry's doing these consults in 20 years, he's going to be saying we're not playing, what did you say, Uptown Funk. I got two more.
Justin Timberlake.
In general?
No.
I love JT.
Can't Stop the Feeling.
Can't Stop the Feeling's okay. No, I'm specific songs. Shut Up and Dance With Me.
Yep.
Uptown Funk, Shut Up and Dance With Me, and I had a third one, but they're like 3 songs that are less than 10 years old.
I know.
That are so overplayed and sick of, and I'm not ready to say Pitbull songs yet, but like I feel like there's a couple that are just, again, picturing what we're looking at in 20 years of comparison.
The older people love it though. It
is funny.
They know Pitbull, they know Bruno Mars. So if you're
not wrong, actually.
I always say if you're having a little bit of trouble when you read the room with the older people, you sprinkle some of that stuff in, they'll get back out there. So, and that's a whole nother conversation.
It is because I'm just sitting here. I can't get over the fact that, again, I'm now 40. We're still going to call you Baby Smooth over here, but like weddings in 20 years.
I'm terrified.
But I'm thinking of it even like I'm terrified of the aspect of like, are 60-year-old women going to be like going crazy over Waka Flocka?
Or a TikTok song.
Like, yeah, right. or that too. But like, it's just, this is the evolving thing of like what's changing. What would you say? I'm very curious of your answer to this. What would you say your average age for a couple is? Because I'm curious if yours is slightly lower than mine.
27, 28.
I'm trying to think if I would say higher or not. Listen, this is probably bad to say. Again, respectfully, I always say like, why are you getting married? Under 25? We'll just say that. But like at the same time, I want everyone to be 26, 27.
Of course.
Because if they're the first of their group and we're good at what we do, we're booking that whole crew over the next 5 years. And like, that's just straight money. But I'm just curious of, our brands are completely different yet similar. And the owner of the company is 33 versus 41. Am I, and again, this is the beautiful part of like Facebook, if you will.
Sure.
Like, I'm still booking weddings for kids that I graduated with 20 years ago that have been friends with me on social media for 20 years and know that it's an easy first phone call when they get engaged. But that's where I'm like, is my demographic 32, 33, your age, if you will, and you got a slightly low. But I mean, and listen, let's give a plug for you. Like, you're also huge into the nightlife aspect. So, the 35-year-olds aren't as, the 25-year-olds, I should say, you're getting a lot of exposure from in the nightlife aspect that can turn into the wedding business that I'm actually not doing as much on that side. That's why I thought your demographics might be a little lower.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look into it more, but I would say the majority of the people are like 26 to 32, probably. So somewhere in the middle.
That's what I want everyone to be, essentially, for, again, mainly just because of the referrals. Like, I say, like, I want to book a wedding out of every wedding we do. And when I talk business and even like some things of how we get referrals, I used to not like put that second tier into my numbers and my homework of what we're doing of stuff. But like, again, if we're good at what we do, I love telling a couple in that consult that, we want to give 100% for you guys, of course, but respectfully, I want to give 110% for the crowd and the guests, because the biggest compliment that we can ever get is 3 years go by, this guy gets on a ring, gets down on a knee, gives her a ring, and they go to the dinner that night, and the first thing they say is, "Oh my God, we need a DJ from Stacy's wedding," and that's the best compliment in the world we could get. All right, so here's another good one. I did a wedding this past weekend, and again, talking about simple things, I don't even think it's like something that everyone's gonna be like, wow, because it's essentially a popular thing. But bridal party entrances today versus 10 years ago, it's not even comparable. And why are we lining up and doing first and last names versus not? And I did 2 weddings this past weekend. And the first wedding, they had 10 couples, first and last names. And like, when we went to line them up, I just double check with the bride. I'm like, would you prefer the first and last names? And in my head, I'm like, please say no, because like, again, can I say all these last names? Sure. Did I do it for the first 15 years of my life? Yes. Is it less stressful for the MC to not butcher some of these names and we're going to hyphenetically write them down and whatnot? Sure. But the difference of my 2 weddings this weekend, I think, clarify everything. And I do less weddings now than I used to. So when I do them, I'm like trying to be a sponge for things to talk about the podcast. But first wedding of the night, 10 couples all came out to their own thing. And I did used to tell people, like, I like that it's cool that they can come out to their own songs and that. And, you're the same as the DJ and MC as far as like, it's also less pressure for the DJ that they can play these 10 songs in a short time. Awesome. However, here's the thing. The couple came out as a whole, and they got the club lights and they got the signs, and they come in like just a bum rush of 22 people with the lights and the signs, and that energy and vibe in the room versus individual couples is just not so comparable.
Yeah.
And it's just setting the stage and the tone for the couple's introduction. And, you know, not to take anything away from the best man and maid of honor if they are the last ones to be introduced, but that's the last names that we're announcing before the big couple entrance. And like the maid of honor and the best man are never getting the vibes like the bum rush of the whole bridal party.
Right.
And I just, again, a lot of people are doing it. Are you ever not, like, what percent would you say? 75 or more?
It's bridesmaids as a
I do. I was going to say that too.
Groomsmen as a whole. But then recently, like you just said, a lot of people are doing.
And I'm even fine with the guys and the girls.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to say.
I don't like the pairs mainly because I feel like it winds up stressing out the bride and groom, because then they're texting me on Thursday.
Different songs and where they're lining up, and
they haven't picked their songs yet.
Right. And that I agree with too.
Creates more work for them.
Here's another thing, big tip for people too. You got one shot at this, and eliminating the 5 minutes here, the 5 minutes there, and this 5-minute example of lining up 10 different couples in order, saying all their names properly, making sure you're not, all that stuff takes time. So adding these 5-10 minutes up, you might get an extra 20 minutes of an open dance floor if things are done just in a smoothly fashion. But I'm trying to figure out if I like the group as a whole or the guys and the girls. And I'm literally torn only based off of my wedding this past weekend, because I find if it's the guys and the girls specifically, it's going to be what was the song of the bachelorette party weekend. And like a lot of times I feel like, you know, if it's a hype, high energy song, like that's what they're coming out to. Right. But here's a negative on it. How many times have you done it, guys and girls, where when I line them up, and if I know it's guys and girls, I talk to the DJ and I always, you know, like, what are we doing first? I literally tell them that I'm going to line them up. I want to know what they're doing, because in most cases we'll do the girls first, if you will. Right. But when the guys are, you know, don't have anything planned, they aren't coming in crazy, why do we want to have these girls go crazy and then the guys just kind of walk in and throw an arm up? So in that instance, I'll always make the guys go first. Again, so the high energy hypeness is right before the couple comes in, kind of thing. But again, some of these things are just like simple, like we see them all the time, but then we do weddings and they're not doing it. I'm like, I wish they just saw this podcast, this specific episode.
They'll be like, oh, you're that guy from the podcast. That happened.
Well, listen,
it happened.
You're going to bring it up, so we'll talk about it. But we had one go semi-viral.
It took you 42 years.
41, bro, 41. And the pod I just mentioned that we had that clip come out. Someone said that she tried to talk the bride into doing it and she wouldn't. And she's like, I only know you because you're the guy from TikTok. And we're only like less than a couple.
Think you'd be the guy from TikTok?
Literally never in my life. And the best part was, it wasn't even like anything. Like
it wasn't related to music, because
that was what I was just gonna say. Like it wasn't even about music; it was about a ceremony. So it's just kind of.
You guys offer officiants too. So.
Most of are any of your guys ordained?
No.
It's free money.
I respect it.
It's free money. Listen, and here's another free advice. I think I'm a bad salesman sometimes because I'm too honest with people.
Right.
So most of our MCs are ordained ministers. So I always say, if you don't have a minister or officiant for your wedding, that it's one less guy you got to hire. But I'll also be a bad salesman and tell everybody listening right now that you should never pay a stranger to do your officiant. You should pay $50 online and have one of your friends do it, because it's more personal, it's more fun, it's less stressful, less pressure, all the above. I literally think, and again, like I went to 12 years at Catholic school. If you're doing the church, if you have a priest or a minister, more power to you. But if it's not, I literally don't want your money. I'd rather you pay the $50.
Kind of sets the tone for the night.
It does. And I mean,
like if it's funny, people are relaxed and they go drink a cocktail hour and hang out.
We could keep going with this. I've done 700-800 weddings. I've probably done 50 or 60 as the officiant. And to me, I have a script. If they want us to do it, I literally send them a Word doc and I say, make your notes. Cross this out, add this. You want to do a sand ceremony or reading, cool, but make it what you want. But again, I know nothing about the couple.
Sure.
So when I do it for someone I know, and it's only been a few, of course, they could always tell me some things about themselves that I can kind of throw in the stuff. But I think there's something massive when you can crack a joke, again, make it less stuffy, and some things about the couple that just connect. And again, with your guest, and it's all kind of like setting the stage from the jump. And, I always talk about there's 2 weddings at every wedding, and I call them beautiful bangers, if you will. And the first half of the night, they want the beautiful, elegant, and the second half, they want a banger, if you will. But having your friend or family do the officiant for your wedding sets the stage of just, again, like non-stuffy, fun, more upbeat, ready, and just kind of sets the stage for the whole day. And it's just that simple. Kind of feel like I'm rambling about it, but it is what it is.
That was a clip before the rambling.
Yeah. So again, tips, tricks, etc. Cake cutting. Now, the easy answer I already know you're going to say for me is that we just shouldn't do it and it should be silent. At least that's my opinion. Do you agree, or do you want to elaborate?
I'll elaborate. I think you should do it silent, but only because it could have the potential to get in the way of the flow of dancing. I think if, depending on when you're doing it, if you're trying to do it 20 or 30 minutes into your dance set, I think it's a risk. And I think that you should reconsider because of the implications it could have on dancing. And I think that people would get pulled away from it. If you make an announcement of any kind during dancing, I feel like that.
I think you just like put it together for me, in my opinion.
Sure.
If you want your cake announced for guests, more power to you, and it's your wedding. Again, we'll do whatever you want. But I think it's something that you need to stress to your venue that you want to do it before we open up the dance floor. And if for whatever reason they're not going to do it before you open up the dance floor, that's when I think it either needs to be silent or it needs to be announced, but we're not stopping the energy. We're not changing the song. Sugar Sugar isn't coming on by the Archies, and you just kind of let the flow go. Again, a wedding this past weekend, one of our guys told us, shout out to Keith that's in the corner, that, they opened up the dance floor. They mentioned doing the cake beforehand. They didn't. And they had a crazy packed dance floor to start. And 30 minutes later, they decided they were going to announce the cake cutting, change the song, and they never got that vibe back. And it happens way too many times. And again, this is things we see all the time. And why aren't people talking about this stuff more is the question.
So I think, and again, I've been fortunate enough to be able to have our clients trust us. And I know you're the same way, but I always try to give, I'm not going to make decisions for them, but I'm going to tell them, based upon my experience, I wouldn't recommend doing this because of X, Y, and Z. And I tell them the exact story that you just said. We don't want to. Your main goal is to buy you as much time as you can.
More times than not, they're never getting the same level of energy back to clear the dance floor for 2 minutes.
Maybe the last half hour, but you just skip that whole hour gap.
And realistically, let's take it a step further. There's so much nerves during their wedding day. And on the silent cake aspect of it, and listen, I understand, maybe telling the MC or the photographers hey, grab my mom and grandmom to get the immediate family over before we even do it. And again, that's sometimes things we do, but I just don't think that. My favorite thing is, and I could talk this on a whole nother story real quick, but I always want to do intros. I want to do everything up front. Intros, first dance, parent dances, speeches. I want them all up front. I love to go over to the couple, and it's literally my favorite part of the wedding, which is after all that's done, I always go up to them and I say, guys, you made it. All the hard shit is over.
Right.
Guys, take the jacket off. It's just a party. Relax, enjoy yourself. And again, the cutting of the cake announced an hour later is one more spotlight on them that isn't necessarily needed. I mean, to each their own at that point. Sure. But
my argument is always, you still get the same pictures.
Facts.
Still get the same video. It's not like your photographers are going blind for the.
And are we ever taking like full group photos at the cake? No. Never. Like it's just.
I think again, it's an intimate thing, so you can kind of not be as stressed and more relaxed when you're taking the pictures.
You just hit that. I think that's massive. Again, going back on the all eyes on you thing, it can be a more intimate thing. And this is one more thing I'll say. I've changed a lot over the years how I do weddings. Sure. I said this past weekend to somebody because it popped in my head. I was notorious. I'm like, can't believe I'm going to out myself for saying this, but this is weddings 10 years ago versus today. I was notorious for doing all right, guys, everybody on a count of 3. I haven't done that in forever. Like, I don't do countdowns. I don't know if you guys do, but like, again, I say, hey, we're going to cut the cake. Come on over and watch our bride and groom cut the cake. And when they're done, people might clap and I might say, give it up for them one more time. But like the big stop and the hard countdown of 3, 2, 1, I don't think happens as
unless
much
it's, and again, unless it's before dancing, I could see.
Right. I mean,
they might like that, but it's really good for the photographers though if you kind of give them a, on the count of 3, and then we usually say seal it with a kiss when you're
seal with a kiss.
Done. Mike's he wanted me to mention him today, so
nice.
I'll give him credit for that.
Seal with a kiss. You know what? For some strange, I don't know how these two things make me think of each other, but seal with a kiss made me think of smooth as a baby's bottom, and I had to get that in there somehow in the pod. But
it used to be on my computer skin.
2010, 12.
Smoother than a baby's
When'd
bottom.
you graduate college?
2014.
So like 2015. Oh, you said 9. All right. So 2015, smoother than a baby's bottom. How he got business and how he got here today with that terrible thing, we'll never know. But
I did all right.
I think that's the perfect way to end this. I appreciate you coming on, sir. Until next time, congrats on all your success.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you coming on, man. We're out.